previous episodes, Lexi realized that Chucky's alive and wants to kill her. She tried to tell her parents, but Jake told her that no one would believe that. Her sister's in an ICU, Oliver died, and her house caught on fire. On top of that, all the parents are fighting because they think their kids are responsible for all of that happened. And Devin found out that Oliver was stabbed to death. Oh, and Devin's mother started to suspect Chucky. Chucky killed the stupid cop, and finally Lexi told Devin that Chucky's alive and wants to kill her. However, Devin doesn't believe her and ends up finding out the whole truth when he sees Chucky next to the corpse of the cop giving his middle finger. So now our three protagonists are gonna try to stop the doll who's possessed as fuck. That's why today on the Summarizer, Chucky Episode 5. The episode begins with a flashback to a nightclub where Charles Lee Ray seems to be watching a couple a little too loving to be in a public place. But at one point she starts to get a little aggressive, he doesn't like it and ends up leaving. And that's when Charles takes the opportunity to approach her and offer her a cigarette. At that moment they start talking, she tells him that she's looking for something specific but that all men are the same. And then Charles Lee Ray tells her that he's not like anybody else. Back to the present now, we see Caroline in the hospital because apparently she's out of the ICU. The problem is that as soon as she wakes up, she starts asking for Chucky, and although at first her father doesn't want to give him to her, she starts screaming and her father gives her the doll. Though apparently she doesn't like Chucky's new style very much. So her father ends up throwing the burned doll in the garbage, and for some reason that I didn't quite understand, Chucky's laughing at having fallen into a container full of used syringes. After that, her mother and sister go to visit her, but when Lexi asks her sister about Chucky, she tells her that she hates the doll now because he's so mean. And when Lexi asks where the doll is now, her father tells her that he threw him in the garbage. So now, Lexi, Devin, and Jake go to look for him. When they get there, they start hearing noises but can't find him anywhere. And now Jake has the terrible idea to start looking inside the trash full of syringes.
God, that's a shitty plan.
Which makes no sense because there's no way the doll is there. They could catch any disease, and if Chucky were there, there's no way they could find him. But anyway, this whole scene makes absolutely no sense because instead of looking for him, Jake starts hitting bags with a stick, Lexi and Devin do absolutely nothing, and then there's a scene that makes even less sense because Jake falls and Devin helps him up. And just for that, they look at each other like if Devin saved his life?
That doesn't even make sense.
I don't know, that scene completely sucks, but it doesn't matter, because the next day they all go back to school and the biology teacher has a talk with them. There she tells them that a few days ago they were in shock, but that's normal. They might feel pain and guilt, but that's still normal. Those feelings are expected and everyone will heal at their own speed, and if they need anyone to talk to, they should know that her doors always open up to them. And she gives them a motivational talk until at one point someone knocks on the door and it's Devin's mother who goes to talk to the teacher. There are three protagonists start talking about where Chucky might be. At first Lexi wonders how he can move so fast if he's just a damn doll, and then they wonder if maybe he's left Hackensack. But there, Devin tells them that the psycho's back in his hometown on a mission, and so he must still be there. Oh, and by the way, Junior doesn't understand shit about why his girlfriend's now hanging out with Devin and Jake. He clearly realizes that they're talking about something weird, and when he goes over to talk to them, they decide not to tell Junior about it. So they don't pay any attention to what he says, and Junior still doesn't know what's going on. After class, Devin and Jake talk about Oliver's death, and Jake feels bad because he thinks it's his fault. And the reality is that it's totally his fault because he brought the possessed doll into the house. But this doesn't matter because Devin doesn't tell him it's his fault, and he does a weird thing where Devin tells him to close his eyes and think about everything he's feeling deep in his gut. And there he tells him that he's running in place, the world is crashing down because of something he did, and he can't run to fix it. And there Devin holds his hand, and Jake makes those weird faces he's been making since the first episode. Meanwhile, Lexi's family returns home, and her mother says that Marta's is gonna make that dumb camera ready again in time for the New Year's Eve ball, and it's gonna cost them nothing because she says it's gonna be on the good people of Hackensack. And even though he thinks people are gonna be messing up to pay with the taxes of her house, she says that they'll be happy to help restore order and grateful for the sense of security.
You are a smelly pirate hooker.
And finally says that the town hall that night will be the perfect way to convince them. There Lexi says that she means to lie to them and also says that she has to leave, but her mother tells her that she's grounded. Later her father tells Caroline that from now on she will sleep on the couch because her room caught fire, but she wants to sleep in her bed. So then her father shows her a present he bought, which is actually another doll like Chucky, but it seems that it's not possessed and instead of Chucky his name is Tommy.
Hi, I'm Tommy. Who the fuck are you?
But at that moment, Lexi appears, asks her sister if she can give the doll a hug, and after that she starts fighting with it, even though it's just a doll and doesn't do anything to her. Then she takes a picture of it and leaves as if nothing happened, even though her family probably thinks she's completely crazy. Meanwhile, at Junior's house, they are all having dinner together when suddenly Junior's father tells him that thanks to a favor owed, he's still going to nationals next month. But Junior tells him that he missed regionals because he was in the hospital and he didn't qualify for nationals, so he doesn't think it's very fair that he qualified without participating. But his dad doesn't even seem to listen to him and tells him that he's even got him a trainer. Meanwhile, Jake gets a bunch of messages in the middle of dinner and his aunt ends up asking him to give her the phone during dinner. Jake doesn't want to give it to her. Junior tries to get it from him because he knows he's talking to his girlfriend, but his dad ends up getting mad and they all just leave. And on top of that, Bree starts telling him that he should treat his son better, and they have a talk that no one cares about. Then Jake gets a text from Lexi with a picture of her sister and her new doll. Anyway, nothing happens for now, and in the meantime, Caroline plays with Tommy. The problem is that there's a huge storm, like the day Charles Lee Ray transferred his soul to the doll in the first movie of the saga. And on top of all this, outside the window is Chucky watching Caroline and her new doll. And a while later, her father finds Chucky inside the room, but luckily he's next to Caroline's bed and has no problem grabbing him and taking him out of the room. There, Lexi sees her father with Chucky, tells her friends to go to her house, and her dad throws him in the trash. But Lexi's not so stupid, and while her parents argue, she goes to look for the trash can so Chucky doesn't escape. And while the two friends arrive, Lexi has Chucky, who won't stop moving, locked in the garbage can. So now Jake grabs a bag, and at first it happens what we all expected, and the noise is because there's an animal. But then Chucky does show up, they manage to get him inside the bag, start kicking him, and apparently he's now dead? There, Jake asks about Tommy, but she tells him it's okay because the doll is good. And now it seems that Chucky is dead and our protagonists are super happy. Returning to their homes, Jake and Devin start talking and end up kissing in the middle of the park super happy. Although they clearly don't think it's weird that they've killed a serial killer so easily, and they clearly don't know that the season still has 5 episodes left, and so Chucky is probably still alive. Meanwhile, in another flashback, we return to that nightclub when Charles and the girl he met before go to look for another woman. The three of them go together to a hotel, and they do the thing you imagine 3 people can do in a hotel. Well, actually not so much, because at one point, Charles pulls out a knife, and when it looks like he's gonna kill the girl they just met that night named Red, he ends up killing the blonde. There, the two of them introduce themselves as Tiffany and Charles, but she tells him that he should be Chucky, and he says that she should be blonde. At this point, Aunt Bree talks to her psychologist about her secret, and that she doesn't know how long she'll be able to hide it. They also talk about the fact that Junior is a kid, and will probably find out at any moment, and even more now that Jake is in the house. But when we were all expecting the secret to be a lover or something like that, we find out the truth.
Your illness?
Stage 4 cancer.
There we find out that her secret is that she has cancer, and because she wants to protect her family, she decided not to tell them about it. But then she starts to say that she feels lonely and doesn't want to go through this alone, so the psychologist tells her to let the people she loves back into her life, and Bree concludes that she's going to tell them. At the same time, in the same hotel of the flashbacks, but in the present, there are 2 women in a bed, a guy tied up, and another man dead. There, Tiffany, who's the same actress from the original movie Bride of Chucky, says she is hungry, and Tiffany's friend stays playing with the tied up man. But at one point she cuts him off, and when she sees the blood, she seems to recover her mind. There she asks him what day it is today, and apparently she was 2 weeks like that. Her name is Nika Pierce, and she asks him if there's a good guy doll in the room. Because there we find out that in one of the movies, Chucky murdered her whole family, he framed her for the murders, and put her in a mental hospital. And also 2 weeks ago, Chucky split his soul into pieces, but one of those pieces is inside her, and she is still there too. But when she helps him, he hits her, the woman falls asleep, and Chucky's soul reappears, and after that, she kills him. So that counts as another kill of Chucky, or of Chucky's soul, which would be the same thing. Oh, and we also learn that the guy who is dead on the floor was also killed by Chucky in the body of Nika Pierce, so it also counts in the kill count. And I don't count the kills of the previous movies because later I'm gonna make a kill count of each movie of the saga. Meanwhile, at night, it's the town hall. Caroline tells her father that Tommy escaped and that she wants him back, but he still doesn't give it much importance because there we see that Jake tells Lexi that they should tell Junior the whole truth because he's angry and doesn't understand why the fuck he talks so much with his girlfriend, and then Lexi tells him everything pretty well summarized.
Jake thought Chucky was alive and he killed his dad and he killed Oliver and now he's dead, so everyone can stop worrying about it.
Anyway, Junior doesn't believe her and he leaves. Meanwhile, the town hall's a mess. She says that Hackensack is one of the safest cities in America and all the people complain about it. After that, the detective shows up, says a few words about the investigation, but before she goes on, Principal McVeigh is gonna say a few words. Well, actually there's a little problem and she doesn't show up. There we see Chucky in the background, and there we learn that that stormy night he went into Caroline's room, and looking like a tuna melt, no one was gonna love him looking like that. So he did another voodoo spell to transfer his soul to this new doll, and without much effort he moved on to the new body.
Hi, I'm Tommy. Wanna play? That's incredible!
And so ends the 5th episode of the Chucky series, with 4 kills, bringing Chucky's total up to 12 kills so far. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss episode 6 next week. Also comment what movies or series you'd like me to summarize, and share this video with your friends. See you later!
Go to work. Okay. Bye.